Welcome to All I'm Saying podcast. Or no, it's not a podcast. It's my channel. Alright. I'm getting some feedback on this mic. We're gonna get rid of that. Let's see here. I gotta be quiet. Still there. I wonder why that's there. Let me fix it. Let me try something. Okay, I think it's gone. Okay, it's gone. Alright, let's see. Alright, so doing a show, I'm gonna be covering the contrast, the stark difference between. Oh, now it's fucking low as shit. I have problems with this mic every fucking week. It'll be so high in 2 seconds, it won't even be funny. Okay, so, stark difference. Here we go. Between Tucker and the Five.
Russia and Ukraine gets even more intense. Things changing rapidly. Vladimir Putin fueling fears of an invasion as the standoff between Russia and Ukraine gets even more intense. Things changing rapidly, sometimes by the minute, and here is where we stand. Russian troops are within 3 miles of the border and are reportedly in attack position. There was hope earlier today for a Biden-Putin summit to calm everything down, but just hours ago, Putin declaring 2 breakaway regions of eastern Ukraine to be independent and saying that the country should have never been separated from Russia during the Soviet Union. President Biden responding and is set to slap sanctions on those regions. And the Kremlin just announcing Putin has ordered Russian forces to, quote, maintain peace in eastern Ukraine, but it is unclear if troops will enter. All that while the Biden administration continuing to warn that Russian troops could cross into Ukraine at any moment.
Every indication we see on the ground right now in terms of the disposition of Russian forces is that they are, in fact, getting prepared for a major attack on Ukraine.
We believe that.
So keep in mind, Dana Perino is a person that worked under the warmongering Bush that just loved to kill people that he really shouldn't have. He really shouldn't have put these people in danger whatsoever, but he did. And the whole administration did. See, it's so weird how the whole public's flipped. The Democrats used to be peace, now they're war. Republicans are now peace. It's just ridiculous. I don't understand what's happened.
That it could happen any day, and that includes today. Today could be that day. Again, Bill, we're seeing things in the intelligence realm that's certainly giving us concern about how close he is now to moving. Every indication is that he's preparing for a large-scale invasion.
The Biden administration being criticized over the way they handled this entire situation. Vice President Kamala Harris out in Germany this weekend and is being accused of not being prepared.
I mean, listen, guys. We're talking about the potential for war in Europe. I mean, let's really take a moment to understand the significance of what we're talking about. Our position is for us very clear, which is as a leader, which we have been, bringing together the allies, working together. These are some of the greatest sanctions, if not the strongest, that we've ever issued. And it will exact absolute harm for the Russian economy and their government.
Ooh, that's some tough talk. Oh, yep, here they go. Fucking Mike. That's some tough talk. So, her talking about the not having any conflict in Europe. She's so dumb. She's so dumb. I think they even mention it. Here we go.
There's a lot to cover, so let's start with this. There's a call from Jen Psaki, White House press secretary, saying that we have anticipated a move like this from Russia and are ready to respond immediately. Geraldo, there you have Kamala Harris talking about the sanctions that are to come after the action was taken. And I think there will be a lot of debate as to whether at least some sanctions could have been put on ahead of time to prevent this, because now we've just been told in our ears that Russia...
Dana's even dumber. So I think somebody made this point. It's not my point, but it was a great point. That it's like children. Like, think of yourself. Children can understand this theory. If you're going to punish somebody before they ever do it, then what's the point of not doing it if you're that person? If you've already been punished, why not just do it if you're already punished? Dana, you're dumb. You're dumb.
And peacekeepers are supposed to go and maintain peace in the new breakaway regions.
And so it begins. I think that whatever hesitation existed before, they must pull the trigger on these sanctions right now. By his assaultive language,
yes.
By his moving his troops now within 3 miles of the frontier. And they are massed armor. We have to understand. Stick
to blow dry in your hair, Geraldo. Stick to blow dry in that fucking hair. I can't believe these people on television are pushing for war. People that have never shot a gun, most of them probably ever in their life, will never know the complete horror of the death, the destruction of a country's economies, and also the horror that the people that were killing in the war, like the soldiers that have actual, confirmed kills, they feel terrible. They feel terrible, and especially if they start looking into why they got into these wars, why their country got in these wars, they start to feel really terrible. I can't believe this. This is unbelievable.
Like anything we have seen since World War II. He must have 500 of those heavy tanks, aside from the aircraft and the missiles and everything else. He is prepared.
Excuse me, I gotta interrupt. I never knew this guy didn't have legs. He's probably a veteran, and he chooses to show his legs. Make of that what you will.
For an invasion that won't stop until he gets to the Dnieper River, which divides Ukraine east to west. That's where the capital Kiev sits on one bank of the river. I think that that's what he wants. He wants half that country right now. And no telling, he could tell them to turn right and take those Baltic states, or at least threaten the NATO countries that were formerly part of the Soviet Union. I think that this is a crisis. Joe Biden has to stand up and speak without that damn N95 mask on that the vice president had. You couldn't hear her. You need captions to hear what the vice president is saying at this pivotal moment. I think it's politically correct at a worst possible time. But I think that this is now war. It is maybe it's not war that involves NATO yet. But, for example, our paratroopers cannot stand up against that armor. Even the blessed 82nd, and you have Joey here, God knows he knows better than I, and the 101st, this is a mechanized major army, 190,000 strong, and now they are given the green light to cross over. It is like Sudetenland in 1938. I hate comparisons to Hitler and the Nazis, but this is when Hitler insisted on the German-speaking regions of Czechoslovakia. He got the German-speaking regions. Then he moved his army and took the rest of Czechoslovakia. This is history repeating itself. Biden is called upon now to be strong, stronger than he has ever been, more clear than he has ever been, and work in concert with our NATO allies who, thank God, have recognized that the tiger is loose in the building.
So, him speaking about the languages, That's like the comparison between Russia and Ukraine. The comparison would be like American English versus British English. There's a couple different words. I'm not sure. Fortnight means 2 weeks. They say words a little different. Aluminium, process. Like Canadians say, process. Excuse me. So they do speak pretty much Russian. Ukrainians pretty much speak Russian. So I don't understand why people that know their history, and this is true, Putin's even said this, Ukraine funded Ukraine. They pretty much built that country economically, financially, and it was obviously once a part of the USSR. So anyway, here we go.
It's almost as if Putin only thinks that a unified Germany should stand after the fall of the Soviet Union. Here's General Jack Keane. Joey, let's listen to him and then get your take.
Because he wants Ukraine to look to Russia and not to the West. But really, when it gets down to what he is talking about here, is that Ukraine never should have been separated from the Soviet Union. It is a part of Russia, and I'm taking back the land that is rightfully ours. That is what this is about.
And taking it back could be quite violent.
Yeah, it looks that way. I think the problem is we've sit around and tried to guess what does he want? And I think if Greg were sitting in this chair, he would say, why doesn't the president call him? Well, we hear today he's going to call him if he doesn't invade. And so what I don't understand about that is if he does invade, are you not going to call him? Like you're going to have to figure this guy out. You're going to have to understand, does he want the land? Does he want the reassurances from NATO? I hate to use a bad analogy, but I'm pretty good at using bad analogies. So if you've ever played Texas Hold'em and you have two people betting, one person's betting and raising the bet, and you got this other guy over here and he's just calling, and that's all he's doing. You know two things. One is that guy doesn't have a good hand, the guy that's just calling, and the guy that's betting either has a great hand or no hand at all. The guy betting is Putin. The guy calling is Joe Biden, and that's our problem. We look at this.
That's a good analogy.
Is it a good analogy?
Yeah, I think you did a good job.
I'm going to keep that one. Emily, don't let me forget it. So the point here is Joe Biden's reacting. It's all he's doing is reacting. He's not leading on this, and I'm not going to beat him up over it and say he should have prevented this 6 months ago. But at the same point, it's not like this caught us by surprise. Yeah. It's not like we don't understand what's happening. It's not like it's not been an issue.
6 months ago. Why is this happening now and not under Trump? I can tell you why. I have a synopsis of this whole thing. My theories, and I think they're the correct theories. I really do. And you might also. A lot of people might. People are probably putting this in their head. It's just common sense. And they pull the wool over our eyes like we're all dumb. Fox is somehow all into this story now. When Tucker's completely opposite. It's like I don't know. Tucker obviously has the influence. He has the ratings. He has the money to be able to risk his job if that's actually what's happening. I mean, Tucker's been coming out and saying some stuff that he never used to admit to, especially when he didn't have the ratings. Like 9/11 was a false flag. He said that the other night. I'm sure you've heard it. When he compared, I'm trying to remember what he compared. Anyway, I'll try to pull it up. All right, here we go.
For a long time, and why is it every day all we hear is this kind of semantics of is this going to be a proxy war? Is this a land grab? Is this a push to get NATO out of the region? Is it all of that?
And they don't mention that there's been a proxy war going on since Obama in 2014.
Why can't our government answer that question?
Well, it turns
Are they
out
really asking it?
In Ukraine and Russia. Proxy wars have been going on in Ukraine and Russia since 2014. Fact.
Every single day because they don't know.
Jesse, it turns out that what Putin wants is what he's been saying he wants. And I don't know, doesn't seem like to be a lot of guessing, but the other thing that's happening is how it might hurt our economy as well, and that is having to deal with energy. If there's anything we've learned here, that an energy policy is very important. Let's listen to Kamala Harris on that part and get your take.
Sorry about this.
Stop. Anytime you grab a drink,
Sorry about this.
you're helping the ordinary person who owns that.
When America stands for her principles and all of the things that we hold dear, it requires sometimes for us to put ourselves out there in a way that maybe we will incur some cost. And in this situation, that may relate to energy costs.
I hope that we take some lessons about our own energy policy out of this.
So gas is going to $4 a gallon, and it's probably going to $100 a barrel within the next couple weeks if this thing goes through.
I don't know. I like Jesse when he was like the, I don't know. For some reason, he seems like he's like 22. But I find out, I think he's like 40 something. But, I don't know. Maybe he's not even that. I forget what is, why he's alluded to something that made me feel that he was older. I don't know what it was exactly. But anyway, something about Jesse Watters' cadence bugs me. I just don't like Jesse Watters anymore. I used to like him. I just don't like him anymore. I don't know what happened. It's like he's got a smug cadence, like a schmarmy attitude. If you ever heard that term, it describes him perfectly. He's schmarmy. He's schmarmy Jesse Watters. So here we go.
Stock market's going to take a huge hit, and with gas prices and oil going up, inflation's going to get much worse because it's tied to the dollar. Have we been prepared as a country to stomach this? No. This is the first time anybody in the administration says what's happening in Europe, this is how it's going to affect here, Americans in the homeland. And she's saying it with a mask on, and no one ever even cares what she says. The president needs to come out without a mask and explain why Ukraine impacts this country and why we need to care and what the hell is going on there and get us ready for this. Because right now, the American people are not ready for this. What's going to happen, oil is going to go up, inflation is going to get worse, and the Democrats and the media are going to blame Russia. You know what's going to happen? They just need another excuse, and that's fine, but that's not where we are right now. Where did we get here?
Stop there. Well, I don't know what he says next. That's on point, for the most part. He doesn't bring up the conflicts of interest. That why do we care about Ukraine? I think everybody knows. The Burisma, maybe other stuff. Who knows? I'm gonna read mine at the end of this.
All right. Bill Clinton forced the Ukrainians in the early 90s to give their nukes back to Russia. If he had just let the Ukrainians keep the nukes, Russia wouldn't have gone in. You don't invade a nuclear power. He forced the nukes out there back to Russia, and now they're sitting ducks for Putin. All right, so I expect a formal apology by Bubba soon. Also, the Europeans totally went green here. And they reduced nuclear, they reduced coal, they reduced exploring for natural gas domestically, and they're now just sucking at the teat of Vladimir Putin's pipeline.
Yep.
And they're over a barrel. They're going to get squeezed. There's nothing they can do about this because they're Putin's biggest customer. So that's also a problem. And then lastly, I'm trying to look at this objectively.
I can tell.
You know how I look at things objectively?
Yeah, constantly.
So since the fall of the Soviet Union, NATO has aggressively pushed NATO expansion into these former Soviet territories.
Yeah.
Almost every decade, NATO adds another country.
Yeah.
And even the last 4 years, we've added 2 more countries. Now, Russia is humiliated by that, and Russia sees that as a huge threat. Now, NATO doesn't see it as a threat. NATO sees Russia as a threat. NATO sees that as a defensive move. And so these two forces disagree with that, and they've been on a collision course ever since the Soviet Union crumbled. And here we are today. And now the American consumer is going to get destroyed by this, and we don't know why.
Yeah. And Emily, in the not commercial break, but we just started. We haven't had a break yet. But right before the show, I think that you were speaking so compassionately about the innocent people there who could be very much in danger right now.
Yeah, it breaks my heart. And, you know, the blame lies squarely on the shoulders of obviously Putin, but also Biden. We have a perceived commander-in-chief who has spent all of his time in office manufacturing a narrative about perceived erosion of voting rights and of taking direction from teachers' unions and the CDC for masking kids. That's what our president has been focused on. So you talked about earlier, this is the time to call on him.
How much is left? I don't know if we need to hear from the whole. Well, maybe she ends up.
To be clear and confident. I have no hope in it. We said in the intro there were hopes with a Putin Biden summit. I had zero hope at all. In fact, I am frankly ashamed that he is the commander-in-chief right now, and I'm ashamed with our vice president going over there and taking that position because it is anything but
What position?
Strong. The position that they're saying of sanctions, of perceived strength when it's anything but. Jennifer Griffin, by the way, in her extraordinary...
Dana, I don't think Dana likes her. Because she acts like she's this, which I guess you're supposed to do on television, but you're supposed to be always so definitive. Dana calls her out. What? What are you talking about?
report taking that position because it is anything but
What position?
What position?
The position that they're saying of sanctions, of perceived strength when it's anything but. Jennifer Griffin, by the way, in her extraordinary reporting pointed out, you talked about the humiliation of Russia. Tomorrow, February 22nd, that's known as the Revolution of Dignity there in Ukraine, and that's a day of humiliation for Russia. It's a day of great significance there for Putin. And she reported the fact that in July, when Putin had a 21-page treatise, essentially, he was reading his playbook. He was talking about that in the past, going back to Russian leaders, to Stalin. He said, why did they give up so much? He called it madness to give those republics their land and the rights that they gave up. And he equated anti-Russian sentiment verbally with holding weapons of mass destruction against Russia. So I think to your point that this was absolutely predictable, but the time to stop it was a really long time ago. And that's why it was quiet during the past administration, because we had a different commander-in-chief.
I think you could actually go back several administrations and say that more could have been done all along the way. I mean,
Right, like
in
Bill
order
Clinton.
to counter
Even to Bush, Dana?
Right.
Putin. And
I just want to take up for Vice President Kamala Harris real quick. I think she probably keeps the mask on to hold down the cackle, and if that's the case, I'm okay with that. I think
all right, we'll leave it there.
Always uplifting.
98.5.
All right. Hold on, I'm gonna look up. Oh yeah. Oh, shit. I think
invasion.
Yeah, that's the one. All right, now watch Tucker. So, all right, here I'm gonna read my theories. At the top, it says, "Why didn't Russia attack while Trump was in office?" I think we all know. So here, and also under this theory, well, one, Trump didn't give $150 million, like this article says, to Ukraine to help defend borders against Russia. Trump didn't do that. He did give them money, but not only that, he did give them aid as well. But I don't know why we do that. I just don't understand it. But so anyway, Trump made friends. He made good with Russia. He made good with Putin. He made good with North Korea. He was just a deal maker, and that's what we need. Biden is a divider. He divides everybody. Here we go. Watch Russia. Watch Tucker. Oh wait, no. I'm not done. Hold on one sec. I'm not quite done. All right. Let's see here. I need to keep an eye on these levels. Give him 150 million worth of anti-tank, anti-air missiles. By the way, wouldn't the time to pick war would be when Russia has their puppet in office? You know, that's what the media says was Trump was a Russian asset, pretty much. So under that theory, maybe Biden is the Russian asset. Who knows? I'm not saying that, but who knows? But my theory is that this is blackmail from Ukraine to Biden. But the threat that they will release either some sort of blackmail against Joe himself or maybe his son Hunter, like Burisma. But it's got to be something worse than Burisma, because Burisma, pretty much everybody knows about. I think they even admit to it. And Joe's admitted to the $1 billion deal that he held up until the prosecutor dropped the charges, or the prosecutor was fired. The prosecutor that was trying to investigate the Bidens. He held up a deal. This is admitted. He admits to it. What else here? And also Hunter admits to smoking crack. Has videos. I don't know if you've seen the videos, but I can't put it in here. You can look up. They're on Alex Jones's website, and Fox has some of them, but you have to have a premium. I don't recommend that. Go to band.video. Hopefully this won't get taken down for that. I don't know. Let's see. Just look up Alex Jones. Let's see what else is on here. Also, this is a true fact. Hunter Biden had a sexual and just a regular boyfriend-girlfriend relation. No, excuse me, it's not regular, but a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, along with sexual, obviously, with his dead brother, Beau. Beau's widow. His dead brother's wife. He had a relationship. He said he was strung out with her. There's all sorts of weird shit going on in this Biden family, and the media suppressed it. It's been out for years. People have known this shit. Let's see. Yeah, he admits it in his book, in interviews. And think about this. Think about Russia, who V.I. Lenin funded the country. I already said this, but it was V.I. Lenin. I don't know if I mentioned that. Who pretty much built the financial economic basis for Ukraine. Imagine, it's just like the scenario, whatever you say, in the Cuban Missile Crisis, when Russia was supposedly putting missiles or nuclear warheads in Cuba on our doorstep, and Reagan didn't like that. So that was during the Cuban Missile Crisis. That's what started that. This is the exact same thing. They're literally moving into their neighbor, though. Cuba's not necessarily our neighbor. They were just under their theory that these missiles were going to be able to reach us. They thought that the distance was short enough that these missiles of nuclear or cruise missiles, whatever it might be, could reach us. So they're literally going into their neighbor, though. The NATO, UN, U.S. forces are trying to move into Russia's neighbor. Their bordering country. Unbelievable. And nobody wants this war. It's all because of Biden's misgivings, his corrupt behavior with governments. I sure hope this is an act. Because if they're going to start a war over bullshit with Biden, this is going to be unbelievable. And there's no will. People have no will to fight in this country for a war that nobody gives a shit about. Besides Biden and his fucking minions and his, it's not Biden. What am I saying? It is, it's his staff, whoever fucking runs him. Whether it be these, and what Alex Jones calls Klaus Schwab, I don't understand if it is. He comes up with a new guy, George Soros, which George Soros saying, I have no idea. I have no idea to be able to prove this, but he always comes up with these villains, these goblin-like characters who are George Soros, and now it's this guy named Klaus Schwab. It's the Bilderberg Group, which Bilderberg Group I hear a lot about, which is probably not a good. It's probably not a good organization. Halliburton, all this shit. I believe him, but I don't know. He always comes up with these villains, and he can never blame Israel. I have a whole thing about Alex Jones. He's compromised for sure. He's been visited by Mossad. He admits it. They got some tranny comp on him, some tranny compromise on him, compromising information. Yeah, everybody knows Tranny-gate. He was literally pulling up an ad on his phone to promote his snake oil, and an internet sleuth had zoomed in on his phone and found out one of the tabs on his internet browser was a tranny porn. So here we go. Here's Tucker. I'll get into Alex Jones another day. Here we go.
Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. Since the day that Donald Trump became president, Democrats in Washington have told you have a patriotic duty to hate Vladimir Putin. It's not a suggestion, it's a mandate. Anything less than hatred for Putin is treason. Many Americans have obeyed this directive. They now dutifully hate Vladimir Putin. Maybe you're one of them. Hating Putin has become the central purpose of America's foreign policy. It's the main thing that we talk about. Entire cable channels are now devoted to it. Very soon, that hatred of Vladimir Putin could bring the United States into a conflict in Eastern Europe. Before that happens, it might be worth asking yourself, since it is getting pretty serious, what is this really about? Why do I hate Putin so much? Has Putin ever called me a racist? Has he threatened to get me fired for disagreeing with him? Has he shipped every middle-class job in my town to Russia? Did he manufacture a worldwide pandemic that wrecked my business and kept me indoors for 2 years? Is he teaching my children to embrace racial discrimination? Is he making fentanyl? Is he trying to snuff out Christianity? Does he eat dogs? These are fair questions, and the answer to all of them is no. Vladimir Putin didn't do any of that. So why does permanent Washington hate him so much? If you've been watching the news, you know that Putin is having a border dispute with a nation called Ukraine. Now, the main thing to know about Ukraine, for our purposes, is that its leaders once sent millions of dollars to Joe Biden's family. Not surprisingly, Ukraine is now one of Biden's favorite countries. Biden has pledged to defend.
Also, you may not. What the fuck is wrong with this god? Also, this mic is unbelievable. Hello, unbelievable. Also, Nancy Pelosi's family has made, I think, billions. Maybe I could be wrong. For sure, millions. It's one of the aliens in Ukraine. Nancy Pelosi's, I think, niece and somebody else.
Ukraine's borders, even as he opens our borders to the world. That's how it works. Invading America is called equity. Invading Ukraine is a war crime. So with every day we move closer to some kind of conflict with Russia, conflict that could easily spin out of control, given that the people running this have no fine motor skills. The administration assures us this has nothing at all to do with repaying Joe Biden's personal debts to Ukrainian oligarchs. Not at all. It's completely and totally unrelated. The point here is to defend democracy. Not that Ukraine is a democracy. It is not a democracy. Ukraine's president has arrested his main political opponent. He has shut down newspapers and television stations that have dared to criticize him. So in American terms, you would call Ukraine a tyranny. But Joe Biden likes Ukraine, so Putin bad, war good. How will this conflict affect you? Will it affect you quite a bit, actually. Energy prices in the United States are about to go way up, and that means that everything you buy will become much more expensive, from the food you eat to the car you drive to tickets you need to take your family on vacation this summer, assuming you can still afford vacation by then. You're about to become measurably poor. That's not a guess. Joe Biden has admitted this. On the other hand, you're going to win an important moral victory against dastardly old Vladimir Putin, who is much, much worse than Justin Trudeau, just so you know. So you can feel good about that because, let's see, come to think of it, why would you feel good about that? It seems like a pretty terrible deal for you and for the United States. Hunter Biden gets $1 million a year from Ukraine, but you can no longer afford to go out to dinner. That's not a bargain. So what are we missing here? What we're missing is the big picture, and that's why Joe Biden has dispatched Kamala Harris to explain that picture to us. Kamala Harris's old job was to open America's borders. She did that. Her new job is to keep Ukraine's borders closed. Kamala Harris was in Europe the other day to explain the whole thing. She began with a history lesson, letting the European peoples know about their recent past, which she assumes they've forgotten since so few of them speak English. She opened with the traditional salutation, "Listen, guys," because that's the way real historians and statespeople talk. Watch Kamala educate.
I mean, listen, guys, we're talking about the potential for war in Europe. I mean, let's really take a moment to understand the significance of what we're talking about. It's been over 70 years. And through those 70 years, as I mentioned yesterday, there has been peace and security. We are talking about the real possibility of war in Europe.
Germs are the one thing I won't carry.
Sorry.
Who live in Europe, but you don't.
We are talking about the real possibility of war in Europe.
Listen, guys, you may be Europeans who live in Europe, but you don't fully understand the ramifications of war in Europe. That's your problem. The thing about Europe, you've had peace and security for more than 70 years. Kamala Harris just told the Europeans that.
He forgot to mention one, Tucker did. What about the Berlin Wall, the West and East Wall, West Germany?
And that, by the way, is true if you don't count the breakup of Yugoslavia, which caused hundreds of thousands of deaths in the 1990s, or the Soviet occupation of half of the landmass, which amounted to the enslavement of hundreds of millions.
Actually, I guess he does there. Yeah.
But apart from that, Mrs. Lincoln, it's all been peace and security in Europe until now. Now, the Soviets were fine. Vladimir Putin is bad. What do we do about that? Kamala Harris explained that too. Watch.
And the allied relationship is such that we have agreed that the deterrence effect of these sanctions is still a meaningful one, especially because, remember also, we still sincerely hope that there is a diplomatic path out of this moment. And within the context then of the fact that that window is still although it is absolutely narrowing, but within the context of a diplomatic path still being open, the deterrence effect, we believe, has merit.
So, she comes from the Caden School of Justin Trudeau, it seems. And I'm wondering, is that considered the Rachel, that haircut? I don't know, her hairstyle bugs me. It just sends off bitch vibes. Real bitch vibes. Here we go.
Got that? Take a breath and let it sink in. Here it is again. Quote, "We have agreed that the deterrence effect of these sanctions is still a meaningful one, especially because, remember also, we still sincerely hope that there is a diplomatic path out of this moment, and within the context then of the fact that the window is still open, although it is absolutely narrowing, but within the context of a diplomatic path still being open, the deterrence effect, we believe, has merit." Well, of course it has merit. The only question is, what the hell are you talking about? And the answer is Kamala Harris has no real idea what she's talking about. She can't even point to the direction of what she's talking about. Her mouth opens and predigested chunks of language come tumbling out in no particular order. It's soothing to listen to until you try to understand what it means. As Kamala Harris told us just last month, quote, "It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day." To which we'd respond, "That's right, Ms. Vice President Person. Today is the first day of the rest of your life. Learn it, love it, live it. And while you're at it, eat, pray, love." You can just imagine
Oh my God, how great is Tucker? He's the best.
Vladimir Putin's reaction to all of this when an aide drops a translated transcript of Kamala Harris's remarks on his desk. The Slavic mind is a hall of mirrors. It sees traps at every intersection. Clearly, Kamala Harris must be setting some sort of trap for the Russians here. Her words don't make sense, but she can't possibly be dim and childish. America is a superpower. It would never put a senile man and an imbecile in charge of the country. On the other hand, maybe so. And by the way, it's not just our country. A few weeks ago, the Russian Foreign Minister, Sergei Lavrov, met with his British counterpart, Liz Truss. Lavrov asked Truss if her country recognized Russian sovereignty over Rostov and Voronezh, both of which are actually parts of Russia. So it was a trick question, but Liz Truss, who used to work in sales, had no idea. So she replied that Great Britain would never recognize these regions as Russian, despite the fact they already are Russian. So
that's true. That's so great. That's the greatest thing that's ever happened. See the Slavic mind.
Liz Truss has no idea what she's talking about either. But here's the thing, she wasn't embarrassed about that. None of them are embarrassed about that. John Bolton knows a lot. On the other hand, he spent decades.
Neocon chicken hawk. Chicken hawk, for people that might not know, is a person that when he was in military, when he was at military age, serving age, he was a chicken. But now, he is over the military age, he is a hawk, and he is a absolute. He's scum of the earth. This guy is what you call scum of the earth.
Weakening America with terrible foreign policy ideas and getting a lot of decent people killed for no good reason at all. So you'd think at this point, if justice were real, John Bolton would be living in isolation and shame somewhere, spending his days in a total idea what she's talking about either. But here's the thing, she wasn't embarrassed about that. None of them are embarrassed about that. John Bolton knows a lot. On the other hand, he spent decades weakening America with terrible foreign policy ideas and getting a lot of decent people killed for no good reason at all. So you'd think at this point, if justice were real, John Bolton would be living in isolation and shame somewhere, spending his days in atonement. That's what you would do, but that's not what he's doing. No. Here's John Bolton on MSNBC demanding yet another war, this one with a nuclear-armed power. Watch.
Do you think that U.S. forces should actually go in to defend Ukraine?
Well, I think it's probably too late for that now, but I would say this. The red line between being a treaty ally of the United States and not being one is significant. But the issue, as in all issues like this, is would a Russian invasion and takeover of Ukraine adversely affect American national security and that of its NATO allies? The answer to that's absolutely yes. We did not act appropriately early. I think we should have had more American forces in Ukraine, not to fight the Russians, but to train with the Ukrainians and to show those Russian generals looking across the border and seeing American flags. I wonder what that means. Biden took that off the table, saying there would be no American forces involved, and he got nothing for it.
What a little rat fink this fuckhead is. Little rat fink fucker. Oh my god. I hate people like that. He reminds me of somebody I went to school with, and that's exactly how this person would end up if he got in power as well. My person that I know personally, whatever. What a little rat fink.
So the only problem with Joe Biden's Ukraine policy, says John Bolton, is that it's too weak. Your kids aren't fighting there right now, hunkered down in February, shooting at Putin. Let's try a winter war in Russia. No one's done it before, but we have high hopes.
Yeah. You're a fool. You're a fool if you think we're going to go through Russia like fucking melted butter. Russia's won every war they've been in the last 100 years. Every war they've ever been in, they've come out ahead or won. They've never lost one. Let's put it that way. In the last 100 years or more. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Russia's strong people. They have strong people, and they have the will to fight because they're getting their country infringed upon. It's like if Donald Trump were to go up and actually say, okay, this is it. This is time. We got to take our country back. Whether it be legally, lawfully, or other means. Okay, here we go.
Alexander Vindman is in fact demanding it. Unlike the British Foreign Secretary, Alexander Vindman knows quite a bit about Ukraine. In fact, he was born there. Alexander Vindman believes you have a moral obligation to defend his homeland, and if you don't, you're a murderer. Watch him once again on MSNBC.
I think these folks, these right-wing pundits and the GOP that supports him really, frankly, have blood on their hands because they're encouraging and enticing this kind of opportunism from Putin, and it's not just kind of plain rhetoric and like you could say something without consequences, like too often happens in the United States. This has real consequences, and people are going to die because of this.
Yeah, they're going to die. So your job is to take up arms in defense of Alexander Vindman's home country, or else you're evil. You have blood on your hands, and that's effectively our policy. Okay, Alexander Vindman, you got us. It's a compelling argument. We're in. What's this going to cost us
Right.
to defend the country you were born in? Well, in fact, Joe Biden addressed that question today. Defending freedom will have costs for us here at home, Biden said. We need to be honest about it. Really? Biden went on to outline what he called the pain of our sanctions. Watch.
We're implementing full blocking sanctions on 2 large Russian financial institutions, VEB and their military bank. We're implementing comprehensive sanctions on Russia's sovereign debt. That means we've cut off Russia's government from Western financing. It can no longer raise money from the West and cannot trade in its new debt on our markets or European markets either. Starting tomorrow and continuing in the days ahead, we'll also impose sanctions on Russia's elites and their family members. They share in the corrupt gains of the Kremlin policies and should share in the pain as well. And because of Russia's actions, we've worked with Germany to ensure Nord Stream 2 will not, as I promised, will not move forward.
I wish they would show him walking away. He's deteriorating by the day. By the day.
So let's put aside the question of why you would ever want to shut down any energy pipeline anywhere ever, especially now. Crude oil is nearing $100 a barrel. It's the highest price since 2014. That's not a small thing because you need energy to live. It's not negotiable. So how does having less energy help the United States? Joe Biden didn't even hint at an answer to that. He didn't answer any questions. He ran away the second he had finished reading the script. Back in real life, every person knows nothing will tank our economy faster than cutting off the supply of fossil fuels, because despite what you may have heard from noted energy experts like Sandy Cortez, a country of 340 million people can't run on windmills and solar panels. And even if we had enough of those, which we don't have the transmission lines to get that power to your house. And we won't for a long time. So that's all a lie. But don't worry, says Kamala Harris. The administration has ways of fixing the spike in energy prices. They've got it under control because it turns out Kamala Harris is secretly in charge of global energy markets. No, just kidding. Harris has no idea what a barrel of oil costs. She doesn't know how natural gas is measured. What she knows about is diversity, and that's pretty much it. Though she does sense that everything is about to get a lot more expensive for you, and so to warn you, she mentioned it today.
The president has already said Americans will be facing some economic fallout or some hardships. Can you explain to Americans what exactly will they face if this happens?
Sure. As the president talked about in his speech. We are aware that, again, when America stands for her principles and all of the things that we hold dear, it requires sometimes for us to put ourselves out there.
When America stands for her principles. Who got that? It's all this subliminal shit. And you ever notice when any of these people, like, I shouldn't say these people, it's just Kamala and Psaki, they nod. They continuously nod while the reporters are asking the questions. It's so odd.
In a way that maybe we will incur some cost. And in this situation, that may relate to energy costs, for example.
So what are the principles we're defending here? We're defending a regime that has arrested their main rival and shut down opposition media. What principles at stake here, apart from rewarding the Biden family's patron? But at least she's honest enough to say.
And the Pelosi family, by the way.
What's happening in Eastern Europe, quote, may relate to energy costs. That's a euphemism for good luck filling your truck this August.
Right.
Does that bother Kamala Harris? Maybe it does in the short term. Voters aren't going to like it in November. Their party will be punished. But they're doing it anyway. They're shutting down domestic energy pipelines here. They're picking a fight with Europe's biggest gas supplier. So maybe there's something bigger at work here. Maybe they're thinking long term. Maybe they're not against rising oil and gas prices. Maybe they're for them. Maybe expensive energy would be good for the many renewable deals their friends and donors are invested in. We don't know the answer. We do know that all of us are about to suffer. So we hope that hating Vladimir Putin was worth it.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey.
Very good. Let's watch Joe Biden on Epoch. I think that's how you say it. No. Come on. You think that'd be the first thing that pops up? They don't even. That's not even one of the first things. Wow. See, this is what YouTube does. They blacklist things. Oh, no, it's not news. Epoch Times, it's called. There's another one with news. What the fuck? Let's look up this. Let's see if they've suppressed the gaffes. Okay, no. But they only give you the one. Let's see if they give you any other
It's easy to get a
suggestions.
quote at libertymutual.com. So you only pay for what you need. Isn't that right, Limu? Limu? Sorry, one sec.
Let's see.
If it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to, anyway, we're going to get a lot done.
Let's see if they show him slinking away. Oh yeah, here it is.
Considering that option at all.
We have a significant.
Oh, they only show, the first one they show is not the one. Yeah, this is the one I'm looking for. Where he doesn't answer a single question and he slinks away. All the reporters are always yelling. This happens almost every press conference.
Clarity and conviction. We'll probably have more to say about this as it moves on. I'm hoping diplomacy is still available. Thank you all very much.
Sir, are you still open to meeting with Vladimir Putin, sir?
He's obviously deteriorating like badly. But anyway, I got some timestamps here. And we'll go over these. And I forget exactly what they were, but we'll go over them.
Well, I think what hopefully the American people who are tuning into this are.
Let's hear the question. I hate that too. We'll hear the question.
How much should they clarify this a little bit? Why should it be prepared to bear the cost?
Military movements from here.
All right.
On a separate topic, the president, and Billy talked about this as well, warned Americans in the last several weeks that they should be prepared to bear the cost of standing up for Ukraine's sovereignty. There's been a lot of conversation about this, and I'm
Ukraine sovereignty.
hoping you can maybe speak to clarify this a little bit. Why should Americans,
Look at how she nods. She just nods all the way through the reporters asking questions.
feel that they have to? That is a cost that they should have to bear, and that should affect their lives. And how much should they be prepared for this, geopolitical crisis?
Isn't that weird?
Day-to-day life?
Well, I think what hopefully the American people who are tuning into this or have been tuning into this will see is that the President of the United States and his entire national security apparatus have been rallying the world and standing up against the efforts of Russia to invade and carve out a chunk of another country for their own. And that is, the world is standing with the United States against the actions of President Putin. Now, why does that matter? I realize that's what you're asking me. Why does that matter?
No, she's absolutely wrong. Nobody wants this war. Not the president of Ukraine, Zelensky, something like that. I forget it exactly, excuse me. But he doesn't want it. He said we don't want the war. Russia says they don't want the war. Nobody in Ukraine wants the war. The press goes out and finds literally a group of people, and they won't even show the full group. It's probably 10 people. They're probably hired by, CIA operatives or just government operatives. They give them, $100 there. is like $500-600 here. So excuse me, $100 of our money. It's like $500-600 of theirs. So yeah, nobody wants this war. Only Biden and his press, or excuse me, his administration. They're the only people that really want this war.
To the American people, that should matter because that is a fundamental value that we as a country stand up for, and we stand up against that type of action. That goes back to World War II, and we have repeatedly throughout history been leaders in the world in rallying support for any efforts to seize territory from another country.
So that's exactly what I wanted to talk about. Now I remember. Psaki may be a little confused in her history, but that's not why we went into World War II. We didn't go into World War II to stop Hitler from invading into European countries. If anybody remembers, kind of a big day called Pearl Harbor, December 7th. That's why we went into World War II, because the Japanese bombed us in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. So you're wrong there, Miss Psaki. Right? Next one. Get rid of that.
Was significant actions are. There are many additional steps that President Putin could take, and what we're seeing is that he has every intention of taking, so I can't give you a projection of that. Some of it depends on what the actions are.
Americans will feel the impact in the coming weeks of these rounds.
Again, it really depends on what the steps are. What was announced today was significant sanctions on Russian elite and on financial institutions there. The people who will be largely impacted are in Russia on those.
Try one more. SWIFT, not in this initial rollout.
Not in the initial tranche, but remains on the table.
Will it be in the next rollout if there needs to be another rollout?
I can't give you a prediction of that, but again, we have a range of options that remain on the table. Significant that would have a significant and devastating impact on the Russian economy. We've already seen in the Russian economy the impact on inflation there and on the markets there of the expectation of these sanctions. But all of those options remain on the table, and I can't make a prediction of what's next. Go ahead.
You're ridiculous. Russia's fuel price is unbelievably low. It might not even pop up on American websites, but I had a Russian website. I scrolled through for like fucking 20 minutes, partner. And it said $1.20 about 3 weeks ago. Cost of gas in Russia, I should say fuel. I think they use a lot of diesel. Russia per gallon. No. So their price is, it goes by liters, I guess, and it's 67 cents per liter. 67, get this, times 4. Is about 268. So that's probably wrong still, but I literally seen it 3 weeks ago. It said $1.20, but 268 is still a lot better than what we're at. We're at most places $4 or more, which is just ridiculous. And what are the chances that it happens under a Biden regime? The same that the gas prices went fucking crazy under Obama, over $5, $7, $8, $9 in Europe. I mean, excuse me, in New York and California. Just ridiculous.
The president today used.
Oh wait, now we're going to. Oh yes, and this was yesterday on 2/2/22, and I guess Biden took his press briefing exactly at 2:22 and 22 seconds yesterday. People were talking about the. Here we go.
Exactly, diplomacy. This view, given that the president
Was that the plan?
I don't have anything to preview for you at this point in time, but I can certainly check if there.
And notice another thing about Psaki's press briefings. A main statement of hers is, I don't have anything to detail, I don't have anything to this, I don't have anything to that, but mostly detail. She uses, I don't have anything to detail. She loves that word for some reason.
There's another tranche coming tomorrow. Absolutely. Go ahead.
And given that the president stressed today that diplomacy is still available, but now the Blinken-Lavrov meeting is off, you just said this future, summit between the president and Putin is not in the plans
She
anymore.
just keeps nodding.
Can you help paint a picture of what exactly diplomacy looks like in terms of dealing with Russia?
Well,
Dealing with Russia.
first, the door to diplomacy still remains open, and it just as I think our
We're just threatening war every 2 seconds because we don't want a war. That's why we keep threatening war and saying that Russia's going to invade. They're like completely taunting them. Okay, we'll bring in these. We'll keep saying this on the media. We'll keep doing this. Just boom, punching them in the face. And they're like, any day he's going to attack. Any day. We've been punching him in the face for over a month now. Any day Putin's going to attack. And they just keep fucking punching him in the gut. Uppercut to the ribs. And they're like, any day, 48 hours, he's going to do it. Oh my God. And luckily, I think Putin sees their hand. Or he might be even in on it. Who knows? Because Biden has been so completely lenient with Putin, giving him all the pipelines he wants, lifting sanctions on the pipelines that Trump put in, by the way. So it's just so ridiculous.
Our Secretary of State conveyed, it isn't the appropriate time as Russia is taking escalatory steps and preparing to invade for him to meet with the foreign minister. And it had always been the intention that any engagement with President Putin would be discussed there and potentially follow there, but there were never any specific plans or timeline really in the works for that. So it was really going to be discussed at that meeting. What diplomacy looks like, one, we're going to continue to engage with our European partners, of course, and we will continue to remain open to having diplomatic conversations once, if and when they de-escalate.
Diplomatic conversation, so
If and when they de-escalate. Oh my God, this is just a clown world. Thanks everybody for watching. Subscribe if you want. Sorry for all the mic problems. I don't know I think it's gotta be my board. I got a good microphone. I know it's a good microphone. It's made in Deutschland. So, it's a good one. But the board's made, well, it's a German company. Maybe it's made in China, who knows. But the microphone's made in the fatherland. Alright, good luck. Subscribe if you want. Like I said, bye now.